If you want to just start off talking about different comic research that you did preparing for your role on
Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't really do any. I just found Deadshot's. I mean, first they lied about me of who I was going to be playing on the show, but when I found out I was playing a guy who was, deeply embedded in the history of comic books, I thought about going back. I really wanted to go back and read a lot of stuff, but I didn't want to end up just doing an impression of a character. I knew that I'd had a couple conversations with the people on Arrow about what they were going for and how they wanted to be this original, darker feel, almost like Dark Knight, Batman the Dark Knight series, and they wanted to sort of exist more in reality than in this cartoony kind of world. So I just
you do know there's magic on your show though, right?
But there wasn't in the beginning, and there was no plans for it, and the magic actually happened after I got blown up, so I can't take any of the responsibility for that. So I just needed to know why. Like, every bad guy has a story of what made him a villain, People aren't born bad. If you're just born evil, that's super boring. So I needed to find out what happened at what point in his life to send him off in that trajectory where he became Deadshot and became obsessed with becoming the best marksman in the world. So I found his origin story, and I'd researched that a lot. And then I sort of put my own bits and pieces in there to make it work with the sort of storyline of the show and how they had him built for the show. And then I just went off the scripts, and it's real good to work with those writers and those producers because they give you a good amount of freedom. So I gave him an accent, and I did all these sort of things, and they just never told me to not do it, so I just kept doing it. So he started evolving, and they just sort of let me go and do my own thing. And if I would sort of change the way he spoke, then the scripts would kind of start coming written more to the language that I wouldn't say is not as Deadshot. I would always say ain't or something like that. So I felt like together the back and forth we kept this character evolving and sort of finding and fleshing out all these cool little moments, and I loved the sort of sense of humor. Anytime, in the early scripts I could find him to make fun of somebody or just be a real asshole, I would take that as opportunity. And so then they started writing more towards that as well. And it was super fun role to play, super fun gig to have on TV. I felt like I had one of the best characters. It was short-lived, which leaves everybody wanting more. So it's not entirely bad, but I feel like I'm not done with playing that guy. Wasn't happy with how, if that's the last time we see him, I wasn't happy with how it went out. We had to discuss where he was going to go, what he was going to do. So it was a bit of a rushed removal from the show. We didn't have a chance to sort of give him a proper burial, so to speak.
Well, there's a lot of comic media out right now, a lot of films, a lot of different television series. Why do you think it is that there's so much of it in the market right now?
I think that, I've heard it printed that superhero stories are sort of the new Western. So I grew up loving to watch Westerns. I also loved superhero stuff, but to do the superhero stuff properly and to bring the comic, like what's in the comic books on the pages to life, it takes a lot of special effects. So I think that the evolution of the digital effects side of production just sort of hit this point where you can now do it and make it look good, and you can do it for a reasonable budget. And that lined up really well with the birth of Arrow on television, and then we could do really cool things with digital effects on a television budget. And I feel like we kind of had first crack at that, in the superhero world. We took full advantage of that, and then next thing you know, there's all kinds of spin-offs and things happening in the TV world with superhero stuff. But there wasn't really anything on TV when Arrow started, so I was happy to be a part of that movement. I don't know where it's going. I guess there's oversaturation going to happen at a certain point. People are going to want to see what's next, but every kid wants to grow up to play a superhero. I'm glad I got a chance to do it. Hey, my name is Michael Rowe. I play Deadshot on Arrow, and I play Ninjak in Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe, and you're watching MyMBUZZ.